The quiet village of Fingest in Buckinghamshire is today a peaceful spot just over the border from Oxfordshire and known for its picturesque countryside and the distinctive St Bartholomew's Church. But away from the rural English idyll there's a medieval tale of ambition, greed and alleged supernatural unrest, the legend of the Green Man of Fingest. So another day and another visit to an obscure and very remote rural church. This one is in Fingest in Buckinghamshire. And this church behind me is the Church of St Bartholomew. And Fingest has a very bizarre legend of a link to the Green Man or a Green Forester. So with that in mind, let's see if we can find this mysterious green ghost. But before that, let's go back a bit. The story of the Green Man of Fingest begins in the 14th century with Bishop Henry de Burghersh, a powerful and controversial figure who became Bishop of Lincoln in 1320. The bishops of Lincoln held land and extensive political sway in Fingest, centred on the old bishop's manor near the church. This manor, while relatively small and unassuming compared to other ecclesiastical estates, offered something Bishop Henry valued more than luxury: isolation, seclusion from courtly politics, and, perhaps most importantly, excellent hunting grounds. Fingest was not far from the bishop's other holdings, including Woburn, and was near rich woodlands and open parks. To put it mildly, Bishop Henry was not a man universally admired. In fact, he had a reputation for ruthlessness and ambition. Contemporaries described him as covetous, rebellious, ambitious, and injurious. He climbed the greasy pole of the church hierarchy more through political manoeuvring than piety, and held several high offices, including Chancellor of England and Ambassador to Bavaria. His diplomatic efforts, however, often earned him more suspicion than respect. In the end, Henry used his influence to serve his own ends, and not the good of his flock. According to legend, it was this very misuse of power and wealth that led to his restless fate. Bishop Henry is said to have appropriated lands and enclosed parks for his own hunting pleasure, displacing commoners and denying access to woodlands and resources. When he died, the local people, some of whom had suffered under his control, began reporting strange sightings around the church and along nearby Chequers Lane. They spoke of a tall man dressed in green, wrapped in leaves and bark, his face partially obscured by vines and foliage. His eyes glowed unnaturally, and he appeared at twilight, drifting through the grounds of the manor and the church. Some claimed he muttered to himself, others that he pleaded with invisible figures. He became known not as Henry de Burghersh, but as the Green Man of Fingest, part ghost, part elemental force, and wholly unnerving. One account, as reported in the book Buckinghamshire Folk Tales, tells of a local man named William Batchelor, who saw the spectre and was so disturbed by it that he brought his story to the ecclesiastical court. There the ghost is said to have spoken through him to say, "As my penance I am compelled to wander, the spirit of this place, the park keeper, until all is made right. Go to Lincoln, tell them it is God's will that the lands be rightfully returned, and in doing so you may save my soul also." Whether this was truly a spectral plea or a product of an overactive imagination, the court took it seriously enough to order the restitution of lands to the local people. Once this was done, the spirit vanished, never seen again by that witness. However, sightings did not cease entirely. Over the centuries, people have reported glimpses of a green-clad figure walking the old lanes of Fingest, particularly near the church and manor ruins. Some call him the Wild Huntsman, an allusion perhaps to Herne the Hunter, the ragged antlered spectre who Shakespeare has haunting the woodland of Windsor Great Park in The Merry Wives of Windsor. Others say he is a ghost bound to the trees themselves, an unwilling guardian of land taken by force. The merging of Henry's identity with the Green Man archetype is especially significant. The Green Man is a symbol found in stone carvings throughout medieval churches in Britain, a face emerging from leaves, sometimes peaceful, sometimes grotesque. It is widely believed to represent nature's cycles, possibly tied to older pagan beliefs. That a bishop would return as such a figure, one tied to the very land he enclosed and exploited, is a potent irony. It suggests not only divine punishment, but a transformation from bishop to ward of the wild. Today, nothing remains of the bishop's manor at Fingest, but the story survives. Walkers and visitors to the church sometimes speak of an odd silence or a change in the air as evening falls, and some claim to have seen the ghost as recently as the 1980s. And among folklore enthusiasts, the Green Man of Fingest remains one of Buckinghamshire's most unusual legends, a tale where Christian history, feudal power, and older pagan forces collide. It is likely the story of the bishop merged over the centuries with older traditions, particularly his association with that most revered of ancient pursuits, hunting and supernatural huntsmen. And Fingest's real history offers a glimpse of how different cultural traditions have merged over the years. The name Fingest itself is evidence of this syncretism. The name Fingest, recorded between the 11th and 13th centuries as Tinghurst or Tinhurst, is a hybrid of Old Norse and Old English. The first element, ting or tin, comes from the Old Norse word ting, meaning assembly or meeting place, referring to a location where people would gather for legal or political matters. The second element, hurst, is derived from the Old English word hearst, meaning wood or wooded hill. Together, the name Fingest can be interpreted as assembly wood or wooded hill where an assembly was held, suggesting that the site was once a significant gathering place for local governance or communal decision-making. The blend of Norse and Anglo-Saxon elements reflects the cultural interactions in the region during the early medieval period. There is such a wooded hill just outside the village, across a large field that is now home to a flock of bemused-looking sheep. Sadly, or perhaps luckily, I did not encounter the bishop in his verdant foliage, although the silence was broken by a historic aircraft buzzing overhead. The village is undoubtedly beautiful, but it does give you a sense of eerie isolation, as mobile reception is virtually non-existent, and there is a quietness that is often punctuated by the mocking of carrion birds. It is perhaps this folk horror aesthetic which attracted the producers of the camp British detective series Midsummer Murders, who used the village pub, the Chequers, as a filming location on 3 separate occasions. More broadly, the Green Man of Fingest remains a fascinating tale that, while unlikely to be true, tells us much about how older mythology and folklore can become entwined with real history to throw up these enduring legends. But that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, share, and most importantly subscribe. And you can also support the channel on Subscribestar via the link in the description or via YouTube Super Thanks. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.